What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Contessa, and today we're going to be going over a step-by-step guide on how to find your first apartment and move out for the first time. Let's get into it. So step number one is to prepare your documents. I know you guys are probably expecting me to say find an apartment or find a place you want to live. No. Step number one, prepare your documents. Make it way easier for yourself. So what you're going to do is you need proof of income, which can either be an employment letter, bank statements, pay stubs, just something that proves that you get paid an amount of money that you can afford the apartment with. A rule of thumb, just so you have a way better chance of getting accepted to the apartment, is to make double or triple the amount of the rent. Because if you make like $500 more than the rent, the landlord is not going to feel too comfortable about renting you the place, because it's very easy for you to not have the money. You just have to spend $600 and you can't afford your rent that month. So good rule of thumb is try to make double or triple the rent. I know depending on where you live, that's very difficult. Like in Miami, if you're renting like a one bedroom here, they're $1,000 plus unless you're getting a studio. You have to make $2,000 a month or $3,000 a month, which is quite a bit of money. So just keep that in mind when you're looking for a place. Another thing you want to prepare is a credit report. I recommend just downloading Credit Karma, get a report on there, just so you have decent credit, because some associations do require a minimum in regards to credit. So you want to make sure you have decent credit. By now, you probably should have had a credit card by now. If you're 18, get one right now. Highly recommend go get a student card or something. But if you don't have a credit card, it's very difficult to get a place and qualify, especially if you have an HOA. But just recommend downloading Credit Karma, getting your credit report, and seeing where you're at and where your scores are at, because that information is going to be very helpful to you in looking for a place. Step number three is go get a background check from the police department of wherever you live. In Miami, go to Miami-Dade County. It's completely free. I don't know about any other county, depending on where you live. I have no idea the process. But in Miami-Dade County, you just go to the department. You have to call, because not every police station does it, but they do it for free. You call and ask when they can come in, because right now, because of COVID, you have to make an appointment and when to come in. They pretty much just run your background, make sure there's no warrants out for your arrest, you don't have any outgoing pending tickets or anything, no issues. I'd recommend getting that prior to looking for a place. I know this sounds like a lot of steps, but trust me, this will make the rest of this very simple and easy. So step number three is to get a background check, and very simple, free, easy to do. Step number two, I'm going to combine two things for step number two, but it's going to be find your apartment, to find the place you want to live. Step number two, you have an optional step here, is to go get yourself a real estate agent. I would highly recommend this because it is completely free of cost to a tenant. I've explained this in prior videos, but if you haven't seen any of my prior videos, pretty much the way real estate works, I'm an agent myself. The commission that the agent, or the money that the agent gets paid, comes out of the landlord's pocket. So being a tenant and not having an agent, especially if you're first time, I wouldn't recommend it, because you don't exactly know what you're doing. You could easily go find someone, go on Zillow, go to Agent Finder, or just Google real estate agents in your area. The higher end real estate agents don't typically do rentals, so I'd recommend maybe contacting them. They can hand your contact information to one of the agents they work with, one of the newer agents, or you can find yourself an agent that does do rentals. But that's an optional step for step number two, is to find a real estate agent. If you don't want to go to a real estate agent, you can go on Zillow. Zillow is a good source for rentals because it's very closely connected to the MLS. Redfin's also one of the best ones for MLS connectivity. And Trulia is good as well, and Realtor.com they have really good rentals. Those are the websites I'd recommend. Don't go on Facebook Marketplace, because there's a lot of stuff on there. You're not going to get responses. You're going to get very frustrated. You're going to contact them. They're going to tell you it's already rented because it's been on there for 6 months, and they're going to try to bait you into finding you another place or something like that. Or they're going to be or it's sketchy, or it's like a scam and they're just trying to get your information from you. But for step number two, I would say recommend you get an agent, because one, it's free of cost, and to find the place you live. If you're going to do the agent route, just have them set you up with an MLS search. You want to tell them as much detail for the kind of property you want. They're going to be realistic with you, and ask them to be realistic with you. Because if your budget, for example, if your budget's $1,100 in Miami, there's a lot of things you're not going to be able to live in for that. If there's a specific community you want to live in and you know the area, ask him how much those units technically tend to go for, and he can tell you very easy, or he or she, sorry. But your realtor can tell you. But anyway, have your realtor set you up on an automated list, or have them send you a list of properties that meet your criteria. Everything you want to show your realtor is tell them you already have your documents ready, like I mentioned in step one. If you have a dog, tell them, or a pet, tell your realtor, because there's a lot of places that don't allow pets, and it's an issue. Because I've had a lot of, and me being a realtor, I've had a lot of clients that go through the whole process of finding a place, and they don't tell me they have a pet. And then it's a big problem, because the associations don't allow pets. which technically you can get away with it, but if they ever catch you, they can throw you out and they can fine you, and it's a big thing. Don't recommend doing that. So if you have a pet, let your realtor know. Another thing, tell your realtor as much detail as you can about the place you want to live in, how many bedrooms, how many bathrooms, if you want a half bath, what kind of property, either a condo or a townhouse, or a single family for your first time moving out, probably not going to be a single family, or an efficiency if you're on the lower end of the budget. So it pretty much just depends on what you're looking for. Condos are very similar to apartments and renters, like renting, except condos tend to have way better amenities, but they tend to go for a higher price. Townhouses are a lot bigger, more expensive, have a garage. Condos and townhouses tend to be around the same price depending on the building. There are some very expensive condos and there's very expensive townhouses. But apartments and efficiencies tend to be the cheaper ones. So I'd recommend for your first time moving out, unless you have a big budget, which is not very common in people moving out for the first time, efficiencies and apartments are good. So step number 3 is to actually apply to live in the place. Depending on the place you move into, there's going to be a couple different subsections of this little category here. If there's an association, you do have to apply for the association, not right off the bat. You want to apply to live there and fill out the contract to lease and everything with the landlord before you apply to the association. If you're working with your own tenant agent, they're going to prepare the contract to lease. You're going to give them the documents I mentioned beforehand. Some places have additional documents they ask for. It depends on the place. Some of them want like letters, or they want contact info for prior landlords. Since you don't have that, you can't give that to them. You can't be like, hey, it's my first time living somewhere. I can't give you contact info for a prior landlord. But typically, it's going to be the things I gave you in the first section. You're going to give that to your realtor. Have him prepare the contract to lease. That'll lay out how much you're paying per month and your moving costs. Your moving cost is typically 3 months, so it's whatever you're renting the property out at times 3. For example, if it's $1,000 a month, your moving cost will be $3,000. That covers your first month living there, your last month living there, and the security deposit, which you'll get back if you don't damage anything in the property, and you can prove you didn't damage anything in the property. So I'd recommend taking a full video of the inside of the property the day you move in, but we'll go over that in the next step. Anyway, so you're going to apply for the association. Every association has a different form, different application process. Some of them are online. Some of them are like a paper you fill out, and you have to submit that to the association once the landlord approves your contract to lease. The next step in that would be the actual lease agreement. So let's say you submit all your documents, the contract to lease, and all your documents to the landlord or the listing agent, whoever. And that goes to the landlord. He approves you. He wants you to live there. He thinks you're a good tenant, or could be a good tenant. And you get approved. Well, after that, next would be the association approval. So you apply to the association. They have their own application process. They have their own time and everything like that. Not every place has an association, but every condo I've ever run into has an association, and every townhouse I've ran into has an association so far. Down here in Miami, associations are very common. In different states, I know it's different. They don't have associations. They just have like rental offices or leasing offices in the bottom. A lot of buildings down here have leasing offices as well, but they work with realtors, and realtors are very popular down here in Miami. So my video specifically, I'm covering Miami because that's what I know. I can't give you info on where you live. You might want to check how common associations are, and ask your realtor before you decide on the property you're going to move into if it has an association, because that does affect a lot of things in the application process. But each association has their own approval time. Some are 1 to 2 weeks, some are 3 to 4 weeks, depending on the building and how long they take doing a background check and screening and everything like that. But that'll be the next step. Once the landlord approves you to live there, you're going to want to get approved from the association. And that once that goes through, which is the longest process ever for no reason at all, but that's a topic for a different video. It usually takes 1 to 2 weeks, or sometimes I've seen it done as fast as a week or like a day or two. It just very depends. But typically, I'd say 1 to 2 weeks, good ballpark. For the association approval. And once both of those are approved, you're ready to move in. Step number 4 is to actually move into the property. These will be the stuff that you want to do approaching your closing date, or actually after closing. So pretty much after you get approved from the landlord and the association, everything is good to go. So you're going to have to come up with the move-in cost, which I mentioned before is 3 months. You're going to have to deliver that check before move-in. Typically, it's the day you move in, all of that's due. Sometimes it's split up. Sometimes they have you do a deposit while the property's in like that little middle area where it's pending. Sometimes they have you do a deposit and 2 months will go in the day you move in. Typically, the way I set it up for my clients, all 3 are due on the day you move in. And all of that has to go in. So you have to have that money ready on the day you move in. Typically, that would go into an escrow account during the debate or the negotiations and the signing of the lease and the association application, everything. All of that goes into an escrow account. So typically you either use the listing agent's escrow or your agent's escrow. Most people have a listing agent. If they don't, then it wouldn't typically go into escrow. I'm not too sure how that works because I've never done a deal directly with the landlord. In my experience, I haven't done a deal with my client and directly with the landlord because typically they don't have their properties listed, which means they don't come on the MLS. So I typically don't work with landlords directly. But typically it would go into escrow during the time of your signing the lease and doing the application process. That money gets deposited to it gets split up by the day you move in. So let's say your move-in date's the 15th. One check would go to your agent or your agent's company. The other agent gets half a month as well. It depends on the deal, but half a month goes to the other agent, half a month goes to your agent, and the rest of it goes to the landlord. Pro tip I'd give you guys, when you first move into a place, you want to take a super in-depth, detailed video of the entire property. So you're going to do your final walkthrough with the agent. So you want to go in there. If they try to get you in there without doing a final walkthrough, that's a red flag. So what you want to do is you take the listing agent or the landlord, if he's there. Typically they're not there, but if the listing agent, for example, and your agent. Have your agent prepare a walkthrough form. You're going to walk through the property and look at everything and test everything. So you're going to turn the water on for the showers, flush the toilet, turn the sink on, all that stuff. Test all that stuff out. Turn the oven on, make sure it heats up. Turn the dishwasher on, make sure that works. Open the fridge, make sure it's cold. Every appliance, anything that has a function, turn it on, see if it works. Because once you move in, it's a lot harder to get things fixed and you're stuck with it. So you wanna take inventory of what works. Check all the blinds, check the ceiling fan, check the switches. Stuff like, kind of do your own inspection is what you're kind of doing. You're just making sure everything works properly. Take a very good video as soon as you move in, before you move any furniture in or anything like that. Record all the baseboards, record all the walls, take a picture of the roof, just pretty much everything. Super in-depth video of just the property, and this will be coming real handy once you move out of the place and they try to hold your security deposit. It'll make it very easy for you to get your security deposit back, because they can compare what the property looks like now to when you took the video initially, and as long as nothing's wrong, they can't take your security deposit. Because I've seen some landlords try to steal people's security deposits when the people didn't do anything and be like, hey, that was messed up, and they can't prove that it wasn't beforehand. So it's a lot easier to prove if you have a video, is what I'm saying. So step number 4 is to actually move into the place, and this part's pretty self-explanatory. You kind of just move all your stuff in, and you get furniture, you measure the place. Make sure, another thing I'd recommend doing is make sure you measure the place you're moving into before you order furniture. I've seen quite a bit of people that buy gigantic couches for a 1-bedroom apartment or anything like that. So check with all that. Measure before you buy stuff. If you want to have furniture before you actually move into the place and you're actually in that little closing date, approaching closing date for the rental, I'd recommend asking your agent if you can go visit the property again, and you can measure and order furniture in advance, and you can have it delivered maybe a day or 2 after you move in. I recently just did this for a client. I actually thought it was a great idea. Not something I thought of myself. I'm not going to take credit, but I had a client recently want to do that, and it was great because they had all their stuff moved in the first day, and then they had all their furniture delivered a couple days later, and their apartment was good to go by the weekend. But that'll be all for this video, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you found anything helpful in this video, please hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. I know 88.8% of you aren't subscribed by my analytics, so help your boy out and subscribe, hit that like button. Let me know down in the comment section what you guys found helpful in this video, and I will see you guys on the next one. Peace.